Yo, what's going on everybody? It's Tori here and welcome to my first day of NBA playoff coverage. Yesterday was the first day of NBA playoffs and you see the Blazers stuff behind me. It was a very rough loss for me and for the city of Portland. So I'm doing this frustrated, upset. I'm a diehard fan, so it's hard to get over playoff losses, but still gonna grind out this video and talk about the 3 games before that, and then it's going to be hard, but I'm going to talk about what happened in that Portland-New Orleans Pelicans game. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. I'm sorry I haven't uploaded the past couple of days. I've been having some technical difficulties with my laptop, and everything is on that. That's how I edit all my videos. That's how I create all the graphics and stuff for my videos. So I think that's figured out by now, so I should be able to come out with this playoff content every single day. We're going to be talking about playoff news and then recapping playoff games. With that being said, let's jump straight into it. In the very first matchup of the day, you had a rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals finalists. The Golden State Warriors and the San Antonio Spurs squared off. Both of these teams are without big-time players. The Warriors, of course, are without Steph Curry, and the Spurs are without Kawhi Leonard, but the Warriors are much more talented. They can easily make up for the absence of Steph and Curry, and even if they do take a big step back in terms of production after losing somebody like Steph Curry, they still got 3 All-Stars. Meanwhile, for the San Antonio Spurs, all you got is LaMarcus Aldridge. And in this game, LaMarcus Aldridge did not show up. 14 points, 2 rebounds. Horrible game for LaMarcus Aldridge. And if they want a chance to win a single game in this series, the San Antonio Spurs will need LaMarcus Aldridge to step up and get at least 30 points per game, because they don't have the scoring without that to keep up with the Golden State Warriors. And yesterday, it definitely showed. In Golden State's 21-point victory, they were led by Klay Thompson, who had a very solid game. He had 27 points while only shooting the ball 13 times. He made 11 of those shots for a very, very efficient outing for him. Kevin Durant dropped a solid 24 points with 8 rebounds and 7 assists. He almost got a triple-double. And some role players stepped up. JaVale McGee had 15 points. Sean Livingston had a solid 11. And the Warriors just looked like the much better team, even though they were missing a superstar, just like the San Antonio Spurs were. Draymond Green said he thinks people forgot just how good the Golden State Warriors are, and I don't blame him for saying that. They were struggling coming into this playoff series, but they weren't really playing for anything. Now, a lot is on the line. Before, they were locked in 3rd seed, so it makes sense that the Warriors would flip a switch and have a game like they did last night. San Antonio, on the other hand, their coach, Greg Popovich, said they looked like a deer in the headlights. Nobody scored over 14 points. Bryn Forbes was probably their best player yesterday. Bryn Forbes. You're going to need a lot better effort from multiple guys in order to have a chance to win if you're San Antonio. Golden State wins game 1, 113-92. Second game of the day, you had Toronto trying to win a game 1 for the first time in history. I'm not quite sure when the last time they won a game 1 was, but it's been a while. And Washington gave them a threat. Washington played a very decent game. John Wall had 23 points. Bradley Beal had 19 to go along with that. But the Raptors finally pulled out a game 1, and they got a spark in the first quarter from a rookie. OG Anunoby hit a couple threes in the first period to help get things started for the Raptors. Their leading scorer was Serge Ibaka, who had 8 of 11 shooting for 23 points. He hit 3 of 4 threes. And if Serge Ibaka's playing like that, it's definitely going to take a lot of pressure off of Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, who are notorious for not performing well during the playoffs. You had some decent performances off the bench for the Raptors. DeLon Wright had 18 points in 25 minutes. Meanwhile, you also had CJ Miles with 12 points in 19 minutes. Kyle Lowry struggled, only had 11 points in his 38 minutes, and DeRozan didn't play his best, 6 for 17 shooting, 17 points on 35 minutes. So these guys struggled like they have in past playoffs. However, I think this year Toronto is so dangerous because they have a lot of other guys that if their starting backcourt struggles, they can pick up the slack. These role players can still help the Raptors win, and that was the story last night when the Raptors won 114-106. Third game of the day, you had the Miami Heat going against the upstart Philadelphia 76ers. Philadelphia was a 10-win team only a couple of years ago, and now they have home court in the playoffs, and they played great yesterday. JJ Redick had a monster game. He had 28 points on only 13 shots. He did get 8 free throws, which is a lot for JJ Redick. And I'm sure somebody like JJ Redick, a spot-up shooter, loves playing off of a guy like Ben Simmons, who had 14 assists yesterday in his first playoff game to go along with 17 points and 9 rebounds. He was 1 rebound away from a triple-double. Ben Simmons played great. Marco Bellinelli and Ersan Ilyasova, guys who started with the Atlanta Hawks at the start of the season, who got released, and Philadelphia picked them up during the midseason stretch. These guys have been phenomenal off the bench and have been great signings for the 76ers. Ersan Ilyasova had 17 points and 14 rebounds in 32 minutes of play. Marco Bellinelli had 25 points to go along with 4 three-pointers in his 33 minutes of play. Those two guys combining for 42 points, that's phenomenal. These are guys who got cut, who had a few suitors during the midseason, but they're bench guys, but they were freaking amazing. Philadelphia dropped 130 points in this game, and they really turned it on during the second half. Miami stayed close and even had the lead for a little bit, but Philadelphia was able to blow away from them and make it look very easy. It's hard to remember that this is a team without their starting center and possibly their best player in Joel Embiid, and this is a team that's very, very young. These guys are so young, but they're dropping 130 points against the Miami Heat, who are a pretty good defensive team, so I'm worried if I'm Miami. Game 1, they couldn't stop Philadelphia, and they definitely can't score with them. Their leading scorer was Kelly Olynyk coming off the bench for 26 points. Other than that, Goran Dragic, 4 for 14 shooting, 15 points. James Johnson had a solid 13 piece, but Hassan Whiteside did not play well at all. He only played 12 minutes, and he only had 2 points. Hassan Whiteside was unhappy with his playing time, as he was not in foul trouble. He only had 1 personal foul. But the Philadelphia 76ers love to run, and Hassan Whiteside, he's more of a plodding big man. And Spoelstra even said after the game that the game was a very fast-paced game, and it's probably going to be a very fast-paced series. So Hassan Whiteside, who's probably Miami's best player, it might be hard for Miami to keep him on the court, because with him on the court, they can't quite keep up with Philadelphia. Philadelphia gets their first playoff win resulting from the process and won this game 130-103. Moving on to the last game of the night, a heartbreaking game for me. Talking about this might be therapeutic, I hope so, because it was rough. The New Orleans Pelicans were blowing out the Portland Trail Blazers from the start of the second quarter on through the fourth quarter, when Portland almost made an amazing comeback. They were down 14 points with 4 or 5 minutes left to go, cut it to within 1, but couldn't quite close the deal. Anthony Davis had a phenomenal game, 35 points on 14 for 26 shooting. Jrue Holiday also had a very solid game. He was 10 for 20 and had 21 points. Rajon Rondo, 17 assists to go along with 6 points, to go along with 8 rebounds. Those 3 guys are definitely the top 3 players for New Orleans Pelicans. You could argue that Nikola Mirotic is up there. He made 4 threes and had 16 points. He had a very solid outing. And the Pelicans' top 4 players all played very well offensively. However, New Orleans didn't even break 100 points. Honestly, the reason why the New Orleans Pelicans were able to win this game was the Portland Trail Blazers played horrible. One of their worst performances of the year, and they still almost won this game. Portland couldn't buy a bucket from the second quarter on through almost the entire fourth quarter. They were down 14 points with about 5 minutes left and did make a run, cutting the lead to 1. But this is a team that to end the season struggled because they weren't hitting jump shots, but they continued to settle for 3 after 3 after 3, including a lot of mid-range shots that just weren't falling and just aren't the best shots to take. A lot of these early in the clock forced where they should be looking to try and get the ball inside, try and get easy layups, try and get Anthony Davis into foul trouble, try and get Yusuf Nurkic going instead of just shooting jumper after jumper. Portland shot 39 threes and they did make 12, but that's not super efficient at all. If you shoot 30% from the three-point line, you probably shouldn't shoot basically 40 threes. That's way too many. Portland only shot 38% from the field, so they really struggled. Zach Collins had a decent game on both sides of the ball. You had Shabazz Napier hitting a few shots, which he hasn't done much lately. Pat Connaughton had a decent game. Really, the Portland Trail Blazers bench kept them in this game where the starters ended up almost bringing them all the way back. Lillard and McCollum did combine for 37 points, but they shot 13 for 41 from the field. That is horrible. And if they just have an average game, Portland wins this with the New Orleans Pelicans' top 4 players all playing very well and New Orleans playing decent defense. So I guess that's the optimistic viewpoint if you're a Blazers fan like me. I am worried about Portland in this series, though. They gave up home court. New Orleans pulled out this victory 97-95, and I wasn't going to do it, but I just got to say, man, why would the Portland Trailblazers head coach Terry Stotts have Myers Leonard in the game? With 12 seconds left, Myers Leonard hasn't played the entire game. He inserts Myers Leonard. Portland's down 3. They have no timeouts left. The play they run, Myers Leonard cutting to the rim, and Evan Turner trying to thread the needle on a pass to Myers Leonard that ends up going out of bounds. They should be going for 3. They have 12 seconds left, no timeouts, so they need a 3, at least a quick 2. But you're going to Myers Leonard for a quick 2 instead of having somebody like Yusuf Nurkic in the game or even Zach Collins, Ed Davis. You're going to Myers Leonard. So the ball goes out of bounds. There's like 7 seconds left. The ball's underneath the hoop. Portland has no timeouts. The play they run, Pat Connaughton cuts to the rim for a layup. They get the ball into him next to the rim, but they need a 3. Pat Connaughton gets blocked. Game is over. Horrible coaching job by Terry Stotts in this game. Didn't make the adjustments to the offense that Portland needed. And this is just coming from the fan within me. It was very frustrating to watch, seeing things that should be happening, that everybody knows should be happening, but for some reason the coach is the only one who can't see that. I mean, maybe the fan always thinks he knows more than the coach, but he doesn't. I'm just saying. He did not do a good job tonight, and it was very frustrating to watch. But anyway, that wraps up my first day of playoff coverage. Tomorrow should be a little bit better because I won't be coming off a tough loss. Any games the Blazers lose is going to be tough to record a video like this, but I will also talk about news when it happens. There was just no like big news stories in the NBA yesterday. Make sure you stay tuned every single day for videos. I'll be trying to do them daily. I might miss a day here or there, but I'm going to get on that grind now that my laptop is all good and fixed, and I don't have to worry about that laptop dying or my software crashing while I'm editing and me losing my projects. Anyway, that's all I got for now. This has been Tori. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Peace out.